My name's Dualta, and this is the Recruiter Startup School. In this podcast series, I will be interviewing industry experts, founders, and investors from the agency recruitment world. We will be bringing you the inside track into how to set up, operate, and sell your recruitment business. Today's guest is David Hume. He's the founder and CEO of Seriously Connected. They're a platform for solo recruiters. I first came across David a few years ago while I myself was a digital nomad, and I had gone through the arduous process of setting up my recruitment business from Guatemala. We had spent a lot of time doing our website and our branding and getting an ATS and doing all the stuff that you normally do when you set up a recruitment business. And I remember speaking to him about a year later, and I remember thinking, I wish I had found your platform when I was launching, because it would have saved me a lot of time and money, and I would have been able to really just focus on making money. Great chat with David. He's a really interesting guy, and he's been in the industry for close to 20 years. He spoke eloquently about the future of recruitment, the location-independent movement, why you don't need to be part of a big business and you can just set up your own recruitment business quite easily today. What his own platform offers in terms of community and support. We went through marketing, inbound solutions, GDPR, and how that's going to affect things. And yeah, we just covered quite a lot in this short interview. He's an interesting guest, and he's moved himself to Lisbon and operates the business between Lisbon and Manchester to prove that you can set up and operate a recruitment business from anywhere. I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. And if you haven't already, jump back in and listen to the first episode with Rhys Jones on what you need to do to get some funding and to scale and operate a recruitment business, and everything legally speaking with Barry Cullen. And yeah, if you're enjoying the podcast, give us a like and share on LinkedIn. And if you know anybody who you think should come on, let me know if you want to come on yourself and have a chat. I'm always open to speaking to interesting people in our industry. Take care and hope you enjoy. David Hume, how are you?
I'm very well, Mr. Dualta. How the devil are you?
I am wonderful. Where are you in the world right now?
I am sat in my office in Estoril, which is just outside of Lisbon in Portugal today.
Oh, I hate you. I hate you a lot.
Yeah. I have the doors open because it's very nice and warm outside. So if the birds are singing and so on in the background, I'm not going to apologize.
Okay. Well, we'll jump into that later on.
Yeah.
I've given everybody a brief intro into your background. Can you elaborate and just kind of give us the rundown on how you ended up in recruitment, what you kind of did before that, and we'll go from there.
Well, I kind of think like everybody does. I don't know what you did before you got into recruitment, but I fell into it like everybody seems to. I spent nearly 10 years in the finance world as an accountant for a couple of big companies, Cousins International and who make Imperial Leather Soap, and BASF, a big chemical company. And I got into recruitment because I was just working ridiculous hours, traveling around Europe, and was on a salary, and I wanted to make more money for the hours I put in. So I went to see my mate Rob, who was a recruiter, and I asked him whether he could help me with some tips about sales positions or, the kind of things I could do moving away from finance. And he said, Dave, I think you'll make a great recruiter. 3 months later, I was working pretty much sat on the desk next to him.
Wow. And is that in Manchester?
Yeah, in Stockport, yeah. I was there and stayed there 9 years.
Wow. Was that in the height of the Manchester music scene?
I'm a little bit older than that, I'll have you know, to be honest with you, Dualta. But yeah, I mean, Manchester's always at the height of the music scene, I suppose. But
yeah. Are you more Smiths than Oasis?
No. I'm definitely more Oasis than the Smiths. I don't. Do you know what? I kind of never really got the Smiths. I don't know. I just never got it.
Yeah, I'm an Oasis head, so it's
You've got to be. You've got to be.
we're on the same page.
I
So
think we are.
the first time I spoke to you, I had my backpack on. I was traveling around the world, doing a bit of recruitment, rec to rec. We were working remotely, and I remember speaking to you and hearing about your platform, and thinking, oh, I could have saved myself a lot of time and effort there.
Yeah. And money.
Yeah, and especially money. And yeah. So how did the idea come about? What is it? And yeah, walk us through that a little bit.
Do you know what? It's like with everything. You kind of you come up with an idea when you find you've got a problem, or you find issues. So I think I've been in recruitment at the time 9 or 10 years, and I took a year out. I was kind of lucky. I took a year out and kind of missed recruitment. I didn't really know what to do. And World Cup was on. My handicap was rubbish, so I thought I'd sort myself out. And then I started my own recruitment business, like we all do. I'm going to recruit for myself, my
Doing
clients,
what?
I've always dealt in packaging machinery, robotics, food automation. I wander around Tesco's at the best, with the best of us, looking at the boxes and looking at the shape and how it's formed, and the seals on a pack of crisps and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of ridiculous, really. But I'd done that for 10 years or so. So I thought, you know what, let's start my own company. So I did, and I did what everybody does. I thought it was terms and conditions and a website. But I didn't know anything about a website. I didn't know anything about terms and conditions. I didn't know anything about starting a company. At the time, it was all like HTML and code, and websites have come on so far since. But I built my business, and then it took me a lot longer than I thought. And I had to learn copyright and get everything sorted out. Spent loads of money. Before I'd even made a penny, I'd spent a load of money. And then when I started recruiting from a home office, sitting there, quite isolated on my own. I had nobody to talk to, and I had nobody to bounce ideas off. And I'd rang everybody, for that day, as it were, and kind of then hit a client who gave me some work, made a couple of placements almost within the first few months, which was, great result. For them to tell me that suddenly they weren't going to pay my fees and they were going to have to wait, 6 months when they got some money in the bank. So it's kind of
wow.
So yeah, So your things that you think it's going to go nice and rosy and swimmingly. But then I kind of realized that actually all the problems I had started getting built, the websites, the legals, the contracts, terms and conditions, the isolation, people to talk to, was probably why most people weren't doing it. A lot of people have done it since, but most people weren't. And then I had there's a company in Manchester called Travel Counsellors. Now, I don't know if you know travel counsellors. I know you've done a bit of traveling, but what they are is they're home-based, self-employed travel agents. And I used to have one. And I thought, you know what? They're just like the travel agents you get in normal agencies. And they get paid the commission, pretty much all the commission for using the services and the platform that travel counsellors create so that they can run their business from home. And I kind of thought, they do everything. All the training, the systems, the invoicing, the payments, the motivation, the inspiration, all of that. And I kind of thought, how bloody amazing would it be if we could build a brilliant platform where the recruiters can do exactly the same? A recruiter, not a travel agent.
And I think there's an interesting point here that when you're in a big recruitment firm and you've learned how to do it and you're disciplined and you're part of that machine, you think that you need a big office and you need all those things, and you're afraid that maybe clients won't deal with you because you can't show them this big shiny object.
Yeah, it's a fallacy. It's nonsense. And the one thing that we all know, well, you know it as well as the best of us, recruitment's all about relationships and people. And I'm going to be honest with you now, I don't even know the name of your company. I'm going to be honest with you. But I know you, and I know your personal brand, and I know the way you operate because you're visible and you're active and you're proactive in putting your name out there. Clients don't see your brand, your company, your website. They see you and the service that you provide. Clients don't care. I think recruitment is what I call a distressed purchase, whereby they only want the recruiter, a bit like car insurance. You only need it when you need it, and like getting your car MOT'd. Nobody wants to do it. But when there's a need there, you need to provide it. You want the best service as quickly and as efficiently as possible. That's what clients want, and that's what candidates want. So the big shiny office doesn't carry any weight, and even the great big brands I don't really think carry any weight for the recruiter personally.
I remember sitting in Robert Walters and thinking, I'd like to set up my own recruitment business. And then I was going through all those things that I'd need. And I was like, well, where would I meet my candidates? Where would I meet my clients? And then I kind of thought to myself, I mightn't actually need to meet them.
You don't. Well, there's a lot of, as well as I do, relationships definitely count face to face, don't they?
Sure, they do. Absolutely.
But how many people really, you recruit globally? So how would you spend more time on the plane going to see clients than you would do actually servicing them?
Yeah, it wouldn't be an option.
No.
So, and it's interesting, I get a good view on what the really great scalable companies out there are up to. And most of them who are launching in America are setting up satellite offices in London to work the US market. They're not meeting their clients. They're not meeting their candidates. They may fly over and do a bunch of meetings at the same time. But in America, especially, it's so product driven that it's not that important. But then again, I suppose somewhere like Australia, it's death by 1,000 coffees. You have to do it.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. No. I get that. But I think with video now, honestly, the video has become a real major play in just every industry. But recruitment is massively eliminating the need for that office and the face-to-face because with candidates and the recruiters and clients, and it's actually much more effective and efficient not having and I think the future of office space is everyone's going to work from home. That's what I think, within reason.
Do you think that our kids will come to us and say, what's a commute?
Oh, well, look, the commute is that horrible thing that people who go to work have to do. I think the world is going to change massively. I really do. And I think that the way that people, their careers, and I think they're going to want a different way of operating, flexibility. Do you know what? What they want is choice. They want to know when to go into an office, the time that suits them, around the family, around their personal ambitions, around their exercise, and whatever it is that they live their life for. It's to work around that. And office hours offices is just going to change. It's just. I saw an interesting YouTube video the other day, and it was a TED talk saying how most people leave the office when they actually want to make an important phone call, or they don't find honestly. So the office is that thing where you go to work, but nobody does any work in there. They always leave and go and sit in the car, or they walk up and down the street like I do. The office is changing.
Yeah, my working hours. I get up early with my son.
Yeah,
and I go through my emails. I then do some family stuff, and then I'm in work. I have a coffee with some other freelancers at around 10.
Yeah.
And then I have some core hours between 10 and 1. Then I do something physical, a walk, a jog, something like that during the day. And then after I get the kids to bed, then it's on to the call. So I do the evenings. So I'm definitely doing more than 8 hours a day, but I'm picking and choosing when I want to do things.
Which you've just touched on some really important things there, though. It's really nice to hear that, because what you've got is structure in your day, and you know when to have a break, you know when to exercise, you know when you're the most productive during the day. You work it around your family, but you realize it's your business on your terms with the hours that you're putting into it. And a lot of people struggle with that structure away from the traditional office. That is a problem when recruiters start working for themselves.
It's a really interesting point, and it's something that didn't come naturally to me. It was learned.
Yeah.
And I'm 3.5 years into doing this now. So, we've gone through our dips and our let's try and set up a tech business, and let's look at this distraction and that distraction. The distractions are the worst, because you try and be overly creative and you're just avoiding the work.
Yeah. But it's excuses.
Walk me through.
Go on.
Walk me through what it's like for somebody if they contact you and say, "Hey, I'm thinking of launching my own recruitment business. I don't have funding. I've got enough savings to get going." What type of stuff do you ask them to make sure that they actually should be doing this? Because I'm sure if somebody does it and they go onto your platform and it doesn't work, they're going to blame you because people just don't take ownership. Well, what's that whole process look like, and what type of checks and balances do you put in?
I think it's a really interesting question, actually. I mean, we, first and foremost, we're a service provider. We're not there to help the recruiters recruit. We're there to make the way that they recruit more efficient, to help them, generate more leads, add more value, convert more, increase, the value that and the fees that they can charge to the clients by being more efficient and more effective. So I think that when we talk to them, I want to see that they know exactly what it looks like. How long have they been recruiting? If they say we're going to do, we don't want business plans, but this is people who are going to set up on their own and want to recruit for themselves. We want to understand that their home environment allows it, that they are familiar with regular, consistent, hard work. They understand the ups and the downs, and the proverbial roller coaster that recruitment is. We want to understand that they know their market, they can recruit, they've got a proven track record. But equally, it's important that they have the finances to support them definitely through those first 3, 4, 5 months.
I would say 6 months, in my view, because by the time you get paid on that invoice, it's always late.
Well, that's really interesting you say that. I would say if you were on your own, yes. The thing with us is that you are instantly productive with every single thing that you possibly need. And our debt turner, we accelerate that from. We have a mentor program, the first 12 weeks, and it's designed to get you making your first placement in the first 12 weeks. We want to accelerate.
Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, well, when people join. So what we do is we sign them up. We agree that we're going to move forward with it, and they go through again something that recruiters don't do when they get their business. They start running their own business. We have systems and processes to make this really efficient, really slick. So they will go through an onboarding process, which takes 2 days, and that's pre-launch. All the information, it's all systemized, it's all structured to get the best out of the recruiter and provide them with their complete individual personal brand recruiter business within Seriously Connected. We'll send them for a photographer. That's the only bit we can't control. We send them to the professional photographer, make themselves look beautiful. They come into the system, everything's live, and then let's assume it's a Monday morning when they start. They go into an instant 12-week program. Every day on the first week, we go through, we have working sessions through the video platform we have to make sure they're accountable to their own behavior, their own activity, and their own goals. If they want to generate £100,000 a year, let's work to that. If they want to generate £20,000 a year, let's work to that. But as long as they start becoming accountable to their own activity, and that happens every single week on a Thursday mostly, where we will have a 45-minute video session where we go through and make the recruiter accountability to the things that they said they want to try and do and achieve in that week. This isn't about having conversations about the clients or what fees they're charging. This is about their structure and their process to build those positive working habits. Like you just mentioned, you talked about the way your routine is. Are you making the calls in the morning? Are you, when do you speak to your candidates? How many interviews do you need to arrange to get yourself closer to a placement? Are you putting the right level of activity into this? This is like
do you want to know how many interviews we need to do to make 3 placements a month?
Do you want to share it?
Yeah, 50.
Really?
Yeah. But that could be one person to 8 clients, or 5 clients, or 2 clients, depending on the person, depending on their motivations. But because I'm dealing with a lot with international moves, we're dealing with visas. We're dealing with anything that could go wrong in their personal life, their family's life.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of things that can go wrong.
Let me ask you then, your second interview, what's your placement ratio second to placed?
Again, it's...
No, that's your business. All right, I'm going to rephrase that. Okay, what I'm suggesting is, because of the involvement with your clients and your candidates and the variety of skill sets that's needed and the pressure of actually getting those visas, etc. 50, I can understand that. But once they're there, you've got the right person in front of your client, so you should be able to convert more.
Yeah, I suppose part of the thing is with what we do, some people aren't that serious about it, even though they think they are. And then when it comes down to making the move, a lot of people just don't have the balls. And I've had people who've had offers to go to California, and they've said, and a guy said to me, I'm on 40 grand, or I'm going to be on 40 grand next year in Cardiff, so
Yeah.
I can't make that move. I was like, you're single, you've no kids. How can you not want to do this move now? But it's not for everybody. Some people.
No, and it's commitment and it's engagement, and candidates are interesting. But that's kind of what we do in that first 12 weeks. If that's what it's going to take, is 50 interviews every week, or 12 a week, whatever it's going to be. We want to help the recruiter be accountable to that.
What are the activities that gets us to this point, and how do we put that into a working
But making
plan?
them accountable. Yeah. With respect to agency owners, they do a good job of keeping those recruiters focused on the task in hand, which is generating revenue. And you just mentioned it's easy to make excuses when you're not doing what you should be doing during the day, because I can be doing something else, that I'm just being busy, or I'm hiding behind content. I'm not actually doing anything that's going to move me closer to making an interview or a placement. And that's what we work towards. And because our our average debtor days is 6 days.
Wow.
So we turn, honestly, but that's because of process. We're really rigid with the clients. We're really rigid with the way that the recruiters provide the correct information for the placements. So we can get the money into their bank faster than possible with us, and also making that placement faster because we accelerate the process. That's the key bit in the first 12 weeks. And then the next 6 months are about consistency, positive daily activities and habits that move you consistently forward, because it's easy not to.
Yeah. Well, when we look at the future of recruitment, I mean, you've been in this game a lot longer than me, and I've seen it change dramatically in the 7.5 years I've been doing it. Yeah. I mean, when I started, I remember in Robert Walters, they said to me, look, don't focus on LinkedIn, just make sure the picture's okay. And all
somebody told us, when we were told that LinkedIn, to ignore it, it's nothing but a distraction.
Yeah. And now it's my life. Like, it's my life. Yeah, it's my livelihood. What do you see as the next thing coming? And what do you think recruiters need to be doing in order to stay with the times?
The thing is, what's happening now is it's content, isn't it? And I think this is where recruiters who are starting on their own, they've got to start allocating their time accordingly, because marketing is and content in distribution is how you build your pipeline, let's say. But what is the future? If you look at somebody like Kevin Wheeler, he's the guy that talks about the future of recruitment, the industry. He's talking about community, and he's talking about sourcing. And I think what they're talking about is candidates are getting easier maybe to be found, but actually harder to be converted into candidates. So the recruiter's skill set, I think, has to change. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can just pick the phone up anymore and find a candidate like they did when I started. I mean, it was a lot easier when I started, I think, than it is today. Yeah. So I think recruiters have to raise their game with being... There's two sides to marketing, isn't it? There's push and there's pull. So you want to be pulling candidates towards you, okay? But also you want the skill set of being a really strong sourcing skills. But not only that, I think that people need to really look at the way they use their data. It astounds me how many people still use an Excel spreadsheet as the way forward, which GDPR, which I'm not going to mention, obviously doesn't like that at all. But systems and really, really positive CRMs are there to make the business more efficient and more effective. And the data is where the value is. What recruiters want, is access to live candidate data. Pull it into your system and work that data. So I think people need to get a bit more savvy with the way that they manage the candidate information.
So let's talk about that dirty word, GDPR. How much time have you spent making yourself compliant, and how do you think this is going to shape our industry?
Do you know something? I'll be absolutely honest with you. I didn't pay much attention to it last year, like a lot of people didn't. But we got to like August, September, and I thought, this is going to make a big impact, really. And then we really ramped it up and started in November. And we've spent a good 6 months, a really good 6 months. And we had a brilliant solicitor business that helped us get everything in shape. But how is it? And I'm super proud. We are super compliant. And I think recruiters are going to have to really look at compliance is not just a flipping privacy policy in your website. It's just so much more than that. And it's an ongoing. It didn't end on May the 26th, that's for sure. But how do I think it's going to shape the world? I think a lot depends on how clients adopt it. And I think they're slowly coming around. In recruitment, obviously, it's very one-dimensional in terms of GDPR. But I think clients and how they want to protect their own reputation, their own security, and the way they present themselves to the future, to the wider audience, is going to impact the recruiters and how they share that information. So again, it's back to data. It's about qualified data. It's about being able to pull those candidates into your system so that you've got when we talked about, it used to be data. I've got, a million CVs on my database. It's not that anymore. It's about 10,000 CVs, 5,000 CVs, 1,000 CVs of really engaged candidates within your community, your network, your industry. That's where recruiters need to focus. But I'm not so sure clients have adopted it yet. And I think recruiters are going to have to be the promoters of positive security in the transaction when they share the data of the candidates. So I think it's going to get harder for recruiters. I think building a compliant business is a challenge. And I think that we will see candidates slowly start being... What happens is when you've got the really, really good recruitment companies showing candidates how they look after the data properly, and then you've got the other recruitment businesses who are just playing at it, candidates are going to ask questions about whether you are really secure about my data and would it be willing to give it to that recruitment company. So I think it's going to have a big impact. I think we're a year, 18 months away from it really, really changing, but it will.
And can I bring you back to the marketing question?
Ooh.
So there's a lot of talk about inbound solutions, and instead of just smashing the phone as we were told, and that. Yeah. What kind of things can recruiters do to create an inbound solution?
Well, it depends on how you want to go about it. But there are so many systems for inbound. It depends on whether you want to have an email marketing strategy, which is really a challenge in the content you're going to provide. It's going to be suitably engaging for your audience. But again, what can we do? It's not about selling jobs. Content and inbound marketing is about raising your profile so that your audience understands you have the expertise in that particular sector. So marketing has changed for recruiters because you just can't be out there broadcasting, I've got this job, I've got this job. Yeah. You need to be able to show more than that. You need to show more value, more substance about your expertise and your knowledge, and be present, be where your clients are, be where your candidates are. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot more visibility of the recruiter and what they're doing and where they're doing it.
Do you think that means us becoming more niche in what we do and be known as like experts and thought leaders within a certain segment?
100%. And I mean, really drilling down. And I think there's a gap coming. I think the gap is coming from the great big recruitment companies are really able to add a lot of marketing, a lot of inbound, and put a lot of money behind it. But the smaller boutique businesses, I think the ones in the middle are going to struggle. But then the smaller boutique businesses that really can drill down super niche, if you're a C++, or a .NET developing recruiter, and 800 of those people intimately, closely, everything about them, and that's what clients are going to want. And that's where I think the niche recruiters really will flourish.
It blows my mind that they don't have enough marketing staff in these major corporations. I remember Robert Walters had like 3 in Australia for like 500 recruiters or something. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see, do companies hire somebody to do that for them, or do they hire more creative sales and marketing people and turn them into recruiters in the very near future? They're going to have to choose one or the other on how people.
But you said, what does the future look like? And that's the recruiters evolving, isn't it? You asked me about what do I think recruiters are going to need for the future, and I think they need to be getting better at sourcing. But actually, if you're going to be on your own, you've got to understand where your creativity lies and what you're going to be, whether you're going to be able to be part of that world in the marketing perspective. Because most recruiters aren't. Let's be honest.
No, they're not.
We're all generally, there's a lot that hide behind email, but most of us are talkers. We might be creative with verbally, but are we creative with messing around with Canva images and creating videos and and all the apps that are there? It's time consuming. Is it right? And is that the skill set of the recruiter today? No, but I think hiring companies are either going to recruit that you're not going to recruit a recruiter today in 2 years' time. It's going to be a different skill set, and it will be a combination of the two. Or I think you're going to have a marketing team. What do you think? What do you think it's going to have? Do you think you're going to have a marketing team, or are you going to start looking at the digital creatives coming out of university who are good at commercial, and can be recruiters?
It's a really good question. It's tough. I think if you were a digital creative coming out of university, you probably would struggle with your inner artist going into our industry.
Yeah.
I think the next generation of people may
it comes more naturally to them. I think this next generation,
well, because they're documenting their whole life, so they're used to it.
Yeah.
And I think large part of it is about documentation, whether that's going to a client's office and meeting them and interviewing them and doing all that, but documenting it and showing your network. Here it is. Here's the experience. Here's the walk to work. Here's the video that goes along with it. Here's the podcast that goes along with it. Okay, let's distribute this out and all the rest. But I think the challenge then comes, how does that recruiter manage their day? And how, it's a really big challenge. And I don't think anybody's figured it out yet.
No, I mean, we've got a new recruiter joining us, and his focus is, to be an independent recruiter, but to float around. He works in the IT space, like with web developers and so on. But he wants to be building his own personal brand around actually sitting next to all of the .NET developers and so on that he would be recruiting in the co-working spaces, the digital nomadic world in Lisbon and Berlin and Tel Aviv and all those. And he's going to be documenting that on his journey. So when he's talking to his clients, say, listen, you want to know whether I'm actually immersed in your world? Here's my Instagram feed, or here's my videos that I've been recording, and
he's going to kill it.
You jump on my phone now on a video camera. Right, I'm sat next to 14 .NET developers who are all coding away. Which one do you want me to talk to? How many do you want?
That's brilliant.
That's when I think that the way the recruiters are going to change. But like you said, they still have to structure the day. They have to understand that what they're good at, their personal habits, their discipline. But who's running the company while they're recruiting? It's not just a one-dimensional thing. It's not you just don't leave and start and just recruit and that's all you do. There are so many more facets to it. As you're proving now, you're adding this podcasting because you're demonstrating your authority and credibility, because you're going to start pulling in an audience who want to hear what Dualta's got to say. So it's very, it's clever, but it's bloody sensible. It's logical. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I think most of us will be doing things like that. That recruiter sounds like he's really on it, though. I'm jealous of his business, actually. I think that sounds like it'll work brilliantly. I mean,
and what good fun.
Yeah, and what good fun. But as long as he's learned the basics the hard way to begin with, I think that's always the key. So
that's right.
So just on the location independent thing, I'm a big fan of it. I've done it. I've done it all over the world, and I wish I could do it right now.
Yeah, but the kids don't let you though, do they?
When did you decide, you know what, I'm going to prove that this works, and how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were fortunate actually. We're over in Lisbon. We I operate between Manchester and Lisbon, and actually, I'll tell you now, Lisbon is a nicer place to operate from a weather perspective. And what we had to prove is that if we're going to help people operate remotely and we're going to help people work from home, we need to learn how that process works. We have to adopt it ourselves. I can't be advocating work from home and we'll support you 100% within your recruitment business if we can't get those processes right. So we did it. And, my team is remote. I'm remote. I work on my own. I get isolated, but I'm not isolated because I've got my team and I've got my recruiters to work with. And that's the point. We've had to learn how to communicate effectively. We've had to learn how to really adopt video and the training. And it isn't just about training. It's about motivation and inspiration, and when you're having a good day or when you're having a bad day, and it's learning how to bring that together. So we took this as an opportunity to prove that we can operate ourselves as a business from anywhere and prove to our recruiters that we're doing it. This is how we're doing it, and you can too.
Fantastic. What's next for your business, and where can people find you?
Well, GDPR made us raise our game massively, so we've been kind of quiet in some areas, but I'm super proud of what we're doing for our recruiters now and how far they've come, and they're generating more placements with us than they could ever imagine without us. So I'm super proud of that. But GDPR made us look at Europe as well. So we're able now to take recruiters out anywhere in Europe. The big plan will be to get to the US at some point, hopefully maybe next year. I am frightened to death of it. But the plan now is just to help more recruiters gain more clients, gain more value, generate more leads, convert more, be more profitably through Seriously Connected. And if they want to, if they do want to think about recruiting for themselves, they've got to decide, do you want a company or do you just want to work for yourself? And if you want to work for yourself, we can help you do that with bells and whistles on. And a bit like you, Dualta, I'm all over LinkedIn, and there's a link on my LinkedIn profile to our brochure and some information about what we do and some good points about, if you're thinking about it, what to consider. So yeah, LinkedIn, David Hume. I'm probably less visible than you at the moment, but I'm working on it.
David Hume, thank you so much.
Dualta, it's been a pleasure. Good luck, mate. It's been good to talk to you.
Great stuff.
All the best, bud. Bye.
I really enjoyed speaking to David Hume, and I really want to thank him for coming on and sharing all his insights and his amazing story of moving to Lisbon recently. I wanted to bring him on because I wanted to show you guys that you don't have to have £1 million to set up a recruitment business. You don't need to win The Apprentice, although, it would obviously help. With social media and modern technology and the fact that we can do this from anywhere, there's other ways of doing this, and this is a good example of what's available to you. His platform gives you support, community, and can get you up and running straight away. And if you want to be a lone ranger, make good money, then this is a great option for you. Perhaps if you want to set up a business that's going to scale and you're going to sell it, then I think there's probably better ways of going about it. But it really depends on what your goals are. And in the coming weeks, I'll have some amazing guests on who have scaled recruitment businesses and are in charge of networks that are all for that. So until next week, I hope you enjoy. If you did, send it to a friend. And if you know anybody that I should be interviewing, please reach out. I'm always available. Thank you so much, and see you next week.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.